Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I've got your first overview and gameplay for the Ariete AMV. This is a currently rank 7 battle rating 11.3 MBT for the Italian Ground Forces tech tree. And as you can see, it sits right above where the Ariete is, or the Ariete, however you pronounce it, and it is the new top contender in that tech tree. And as you can see, it has a fantastic engine. In fact, it is better than what we have in the standard Ariete, as 1300 horsepower with the standard at 2300 RPM and 54 tons, whereas this has it at 1500 horsepower, so 200 more horsepower at a lower RPM, which if you guys don't know, the lower the RPM that you hit your horsepower, the better it is. Typically, that means that you're going to get horsepower sooner than later. So that's a very, very good thing. So this thing gets more horsepower, weighs the same, and is just overall an upgrade in mobility. Now, again, this is the dev server, so some things may change, but this vehicle lacks some key features that a lot of people might want. So I mean, fully aced out, it's got 6-second reload. It's got a pretty decent rotation speed, same as what we have in the standard Ariete. Nothing all too incredible. But one thing I noticed is that this does not have any smoke grenades. Any at all, which is ridiculous. Now again, this could be just the fact that this is the dev server, and I'm willing to bet that once this actually comes out, we will see smoke grenades. But as of right now, this does not, whereas the standard Ariete does have smoke grenades. Additionally, this has the composite screen in the front that you can have, which is called the War Kit. It only weighs about 1,000 kilograms more, but it does help out substantially versus Heat FS, whereas the not having it really kind of sucks. So as you can see, kind of a straight-on shot to the cheeks of this, 768 millimeters of armor versus DM12A1. Go to the Ariete AMV and use that same, and you drop by around 200 millimeters of armor, which, you know, that's a pretty substantial amount, which means that at a more favorable angle, this will pen, whereas against the regular Ariete, it will not. Now, versus DM53, which is what this has as its top APF SDS shell, it goes through the composite screens like nothing. I mean, it's literally pretty much within about 5 or 10 millimeters of armor compared to what we have here on the AMV. So it's pretty much the same. So overall, you are getting a faster vehicle with the AMV. But again, at least as of right now in the dev server, we do not have any smoke grenades, nor do we have that War Kit, which some people might want, especially versus Heat FS or lower powered sort of weapons, or even some maybe weaker ATGMs. That composite screen could help out a lot. Oh, and additionally, I think this has Gen 2 or Gen 3 thermals. Let me know what you guys see in the comments below, because I did test it out. I think it's got Gen 2, but Gen 3 and Gen 2 look so similar, it's kind of tough to tell sometimes, but very, very impressive. So that said, let's get into a few matches here, see what we could do, but yeah, pretty stoked. So right off the bat, I mean, this thing is very, very nice to play. I mean, it's got the increased armor, or the increased engine, which definitely is, nice. I mean, this has nearly a 30-to-1 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio. And while, of course, we have the Challenger 2E, which I think has a bit more of notice, I guess you could say, when it comes to this, just this update. More people are taking note of the Challenger 2E, maybe because more people play that tech tree. Maybe it's because of the dev blog that was released, whereas this one, as of the creation of this video, has not been released. This is definitely a more mobile vehicle. Not that that isn't, of course, but this weighs, I think, like, what, 10 tons less? And it's got the same horsepower, plus you get more horsepower earlier on. I mean, you reach that maximum amount of horsepower, again, 1,500 horsepower, when this hits 2,100 RPM. As you can see, I'm right at about 2,100 RPM. Whereas in the lesser engine, I'd be hitting, it would take me till about 2,300 RPM to reach that same figure. So it's pretty impressive in my opinion. Now this has an okay turret traverse speed, not incredible, not bad. It does have the DM53, which is fantastic. I cannot complain about that, and that is just one of the best aspects of this vehicle. Now, let's see here. We have a bunch of enemy tanks here, like actual enemy players. So we'll see if I can actually encounter some. This might be one over here. Was one. We have a bunch of enemy tanks over here. Now this 6-second reload kind of sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of that. And is it just me, or did they like change up how the Gen 2 thermals look? I mean, these look a little bit different than how they used to, at least in my opinion. I'm gonna have someone to my right in a second. Yep, there we go. Probably a BMP-2M or something. Or it's a Puma, something of that nature. But this is where the lack of smoke grenades really, really sucks. But after all, I didn't get killed by that guy. Rather, I got killed by a T-34-85. But as you can see, I mean, overall, mobility is excellent. A lot of things are really good, but I hope that they include smoke grenades. But let's move on to one more match, see how this is. But thus far, I'm pretty impressed with it. But it just feels like a standard vehicle. Plus, the fact is, it has very little armor, even with the 11.3 BR rating. So, that said, let's get into another match. Oh, and just for comparison, before we get into that other match, this is the standard Ariete at the same weight. It's the 11.0 BR tank. And as you can see, I mean, the mobility feels a bit less. It does feel a bit more sluggish compared to the AMV. But now, that said, let's get into the actual next match. Just felt like it was useful for that juxtaposition. So another thing that I noticed regarding this vehicle is that it has no LMGs on top, no HMGs. It really feels like this is an unfinished vehicle, where it's playable, sure, but it just doesn't really feel like it's all there. There are many facets of this thing that I feel like the people over at Gaijin really just did not include, which is kind of, it's not shocking at all. You know, again, this is the dev server, so a lot of things can change, they will change. I mean, hell, a lot of things even change after it reaches the live server, but this feels incomplete, you know, especially for a vehicle that has its paint, has its textures and all that. It just feels a bit incomplete. Not bad, you know, I really like this vehicle. It definitely feels like it's got some more pep in it stuff compared to their standard Ariete, but this just doesn't really have everything else, like the smoke grenades, like the LMGs, or better yet, an HMG. But I think it does have enhanced thermals compared to the Ariete. I believe it does. But believe it or not, so I was actually doing a little bit of research. The AMV was a program developed by the Italian army in which they sought to basically improve the Ariete, and it just never happened. I guess it was like lack of funding, something of that nature, and so that never actually went through. So this vehicle I may have been made in like pre-production or like prototypes or something of that nature, but as it is in War Thunder, this was never produced, at least not in mass. But it was meant to be an upgrade program over their standard Ariete, and it was designed in the early 2000s. So pretty interesting in my opinion, you know. But again, never made as far as I know. Okay, I mean, this thing is pretty much just destroying World War II tanks, as one would expect. If only they had this in World War II, we would be in a much better situation here. Or Italy would have been in a much better situation. But of course, Italy had their tanks in World War II, and not their modern tanks in World War II. But I'll just say this, upon first examination, dev server, just from what I've seen thus far, when it comes to new top-tier MBTs, specifically the AMV and the Challenger 2E, it feels like they're really placing an emphasis on speed. No longer is it really about beefing up the firepower, beefing up the armor, but rather speed, which is nice, you know, especially in these vehicles where their speed was a bit lackluster. I mean, the Ariete was not a very slow vehicle anyways. It's more the Challenger 2 that was. But this vehicle definitely sees an improvement, especially after I played the Ariete just a few minutes ago, the standard one. This definitely feels quite a bit better. And also, not that it really matters, but this does have the same exact sights. So it's got the same zoom level, so I believe it's like, what, 8 to 12 times? Oddly enough, the OF40, I believe it might just be the MTCA, but it might be the other variants as well. But that's got up to 15 point something times zoom, so it's just a phenomenal zoom on the OF40 MTCA, but not so much here, unfortunately. I would really, really like that much Doom on this one, but, you know, it is what it is. You can't have everything. I mean, just for my own sanity, I really hope they add smoke grenades for this. Like, this really sucks. Genuinely, like, this sucks not having smoke grenades at top tier. You think it's just such a standard thing, but I guess not. That might be an actual MBT. The way some of these people play. And there you go. So let's just see how this actually goes right through. But that's an M735, so not the most armor pen, and he went right through the side of the turret, which is expected. So overall, when it comes to this vehicle, do I like it? Yes, I do. Unfortunately, there wasn't really all too much action versus the front of this vehicle, but I feel that overall, the Ariete AMV is going to be an upgrade, and I think a welcome upgrade for most people, especially when it comes to the mobility. But I really hope that they add some of the things that we kind of take for granted at this point, like MGs on top. We have smoke grenades, things of that nature. I mean, I just really cannot see that vehicle at high BR, at 11.3 BR without those things. And I'll just, again, chalk that up to this being the dev server and those just not being on here. But that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, I'm very interested to read your opinions. But either way, thanks so much for watching. I was hoping that'd actually go through. And I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.